Good morning. Today is Sunday, March 23rd, 2025, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast. So, looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where it could potentially go in the future. Um, yeah, this was a boring week. Nothing really happened. Nothing major happened this week. We'll talk about the chart. We'll talk about a few different indicators that I'm looking at, things that again, show me that we're still in promising times. This candle is fine with me. I mean, you had this big February drop, this big white candle right here. March has been indecisive, so it's gone down and it's gone up and it's gone down, it's gone up, and we're almost. This is the last full week of the month. So right now, I mean, I'm expecting maybe a little bit of upward movement, but not much. I mean, I don't foresee any crazy news on the horizon that would cause any type of price shock that would send it down other than what it already did. Like the major shakeout has already happened. Like this move down, like that shook a lot of people out. It's liquidated people. There was all types of stuff that happened. And this isn't just happening in the crypto market. This is also happening in the stock markets if you look at it, and other assets too. Things like gold are doing just fine, but crypto and stocks are down right now. And right now for March, again, this candle is fine for me because it's indecisive. To me, that shows that this downtrend is over. Because if it was really still a downtrend, it would be pushing already. Again, we're at the end of the month, so I think we just kind of teeter on here for the rest of the month, and then going into April, end of the first quarter and the beginning of the second quarter, you start going up again. And then I'll show you kind of why I think that too on some other charts. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a look here. So again, yeah, like I said, we're there. I don't really need to talk about too much else on the monthly chart. There was this big area of imbalance that got cleaned up. You see this green area right here, based on one of the indicators, and that really cleaned up everything from 76 to, let's say, 73 is still remaining, but to me that's pretty negligible. Once you get most of this, then the kind of work is done, before you continue back onto the upside. So, weekly chart, we see that we had, like, again, this whole period from November was ranging, and then boom, it came down twice. So it dropped down, a little bit of optimism, get rugged again one more time. And all that really happened was, like, it just came down to this 50 weekly moving average. Came down to the moving average, and there's some other, confluences here that held up price, but came down here, tapped, and then it just kind of steadily is creeping on up to the upside, right? So this is a positive week. This is a positive week so far. And I think we'll continue on to see more and more positive weeks as time goes by. So, yeah, I mean, definitely interesting times here at this point. So, again, like kind of all this imbalance from here to here. And let's turn the drawings on. Let's see what we have. So we have a couple things happening right here. So you have your current all-time high, which was this area right here. You have your March 2024 all-time high, which it hit that 74,000 mark, and this was really exciting. But then it was just nothing for 8 months. But it hit this high, and now this area kind of serves as a support, of sorts. So it's like you could see it coming back down here, and then even if it got down to 74, I would expect some type of turnaround, before coming to the upside. And the only other thing that you have right here is this green area. You see this green line right here as it moves. And then it just kind of bounces. So again, this is a channel that's been formed over time. So there's a bounce, 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 and you see it kind of got to this area, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we can't really go any farther because there's a lot of buy pressure right here. A lot of buy pressure, and really what ends up happening is, and actually I need to move this up. So this is actually at 93. 93, I don't know, it's like 103 or something like that. Which a short-term holder realized price, that is a key level. Another thing, it's like it's obviously it's broken down here and stayed for a couple weeks, but you see it's already turned around and headed back towards and above the short-term holder realized price. So I'm okay if it dips below temporarily and kind of stays here because you have so much more support in this area. But where I'm expecting it to go back to the upside. Like we're still not done with this bull market for sure. There's just so much stuff happening in the background that's just good, and positive for the overall space, but we will see how that ends up shaking out. Let's go to the daily chart, and then I think we'll kind of move on from there. You see from really January of this year, so actually Inauguration Day was the peak, and it just ran all the way down, just kind of some sideways motion, and boom, came down. Then it's really just kind of been in somewhat of an uptrend ever since. So if we look at it like this, what do I want? I want a parallel channel. You look at it like that. Too. It's kind of in this area right now. I would say that is an uptrend. That we have slight uptrend, but you see, like if you go down to the lower chart, it just bounces, 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 bounces. So we're at the bottom of this chart now. So it, had a decent time getting above the 100 moving average, so 50, 100, 200. It stopped at the 200 moving average, came down, grabbed some ammo. You see somewhat of a double bottom right here. So it came down, one tap, two tap, and then this third tap I expect to continue to go up back to about the, let's say 85 for sure this week. And then, getting into the 90s and whatnot. So you really want to see it get back up above this area, probably come back down, test it, and then we're going to do the short-term holder pricing in. So still some more work to do. This is, obviously this is a very boring week. Like if we look at the daily chart, this is nothing. Like this is a whole bunch of sideways range of motion. Like you had a solid Wednesday, I guess. And that ran up, but everything else is just hot poo garbage pretty much. So yeah, that's really all there is to it. We're just waiting on that bounce. Let's go down to the 15-minute chart. Is there anything there? Yeah, some good moves coming up through this morning, right? It went through 84 to 85. That's $1,000, but no big deal. You see, like all of this was, through the weekend. Well, this Thursday, Friday, Saturday through the weekend was all kind of moving this way. So we'll see. We'll see how this ends up going. I think there could be some trades this week within that small time frame, but time will tell. Time will tell. So I think that's really all we need to talk about on the charts this week. Let's talk about the news. There's really nothing coming out this week. There was last week. So the two big ones last week were the Bank of Japan and the United States. So the Bank of Japan decided to leave their interest rates at less than 5%. So they held interest rates, and the Federal Reserve did as well. So they, for the third time in a row, the Federal Reserve has held the rates at 4.5%. So this to me means that again, the U.S., the Federal Reserve interest rates, the dollar rates are decreasing at the same time that the Japanese yen rates are increasing. So you're going into this yen carry trade and it's unwinding. This is still bad territory for people who are in this trade. So I think we'll see more to come. I'm expecting that this is March. So I'm expecting that in May, we will see a Japanese yen increase because their inflation is crazy right now. And then we'll see some type of Federal Reserve interest rate decrease. And that's kind of contingent on the stock market too, and tariffs and all this other type of stuff that we're dealing with right now. But again, I think for that yen carry trade and the overall health of the market, again, holding that at these rates, it still kind of has that effect. So, people who are in that trade, they're dealing with a reverse yen carry trade, and that just it's not good for them. So, pretty much we'll see what that's pretty much it for the major news this week. Economically, at least, I think you have flash PMI, final GDP. None of these are important. So yeah, we'll move on. The other thing that I like to look at is Bitcoin exchange reserve. So all exchanges. So if we look at this, you can say spot exchanges, derivatives. You can go exchange by exchange. I think Coinbase is right here. You can see all the exchanges and how much Bitcoin they own because it's transparent. Like you're supposed to be able to see it. Let's take a look at what's happening. So this is May of 2022. This is really kind of like the beginning stages of the crash for Bitcoin. And you see this is the black line is the price, and the purple line up here is how much Bitcoin they have on exchanges. So they might have 3.2 million Bitcoin on exchanges at that point. And, again, Bitcoin's price is tanking. But you see over time, all right, well, the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges has decreased substantially. It's decreased and decreased and decreased. And it's kind of interesting here. You see this big final dip before things start going up again. Well, that was also a huge dip in how much Bitcoin was on reserve. So really what happened was a lot of Bitcoin got taken off the reserve, and that served as the bottom. And then, ever since, it's just been a whole, kind of relatively the same amount on exchange. And then what happened? So now we're suddenly in 2024, and you said the Bitcoin ETF happened. And so right here, the ETF happens. And you see from here on out, the amount of Bitcoin on exchanges has just dropped drastically. It continues to drop. even as price continues to rise. What I'm saying is here is like, again, the less it's supply and demand. It's all supply and demand. You don't need an MBA. All you need to know is that as supply goes down, price tends to go up, and that's almost for anything, right? And then we understand that demand over time is increasing for Bitcoin. We see more and more people adopting it. Yeah, it is, supply goes down, demand goes up, and then the production rate, which is the reason that two things are important, right? So you have the halving right here, and then you also have the ETF right here. The ETF happens, and actually that was probably more of the trigger. So from this point on in April, they went from producing roughly 900 Bitcoin a day to roughly 450 Bitcoin a day. So this is where you really start to see that fall off. So again, you have a decreasing supply that's available for people to purchase. You have an increasing level of demand all around the world, not just in the United States. And you have a fixed and decreasing production rate every roughly 4 years that coincides with the halving. To me, if you add all those things together, you're going to have a rapidly advancing price over time. So, I mean, and that's what we're seeing. So this metric really is important. Bitcoin exchange reserves, and something that we want to pay attention to overall moving forward. So, as once I start seeing that this line is continuously going up, well, to me that means people are selling their Bitcoin and back to the exchanges and whatnot. And chances are the market is over. The bull market is over at least, but that's not the case here. We see it just absolutely tanking and falling off the map continuously, and we'll keep on going from there. The only other thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin and its relationship to the global monetary reserves and the global liquidity index, basically. So how much money is circulating around the world? So this is the Bitcoin chart again, green being Bitcoin and the yellow being the global M2 liquidity index. So all countries around the world, how much money is in their system. So from the US dollar, Chinese yuan, Japanese yen, British pound, the euro, all these things are added up. And then there's like a 10-week lead on this. So it's like it's shifted forward 10 weeks. So if we look at this, it follows Bitcoin very well, or Bitcoin follows it very well. That's how it works. So you end up having this increase in global monetary liquidity from here to here. And really all that happens at this point is you see Bitcoin's flat at the same time that this is flat. And it's, it drops, it goes up, drops, goes up. And then finally what ends up happening is, all right, well, liquidity goes up. Guess who else goes up? Bitcoin. And also, with the ETFs and all that stuff too, that happened around this time. And then you see liquidity went flat for a while. And then it started going up again. And guess what? Bitcoin's price started going up. It's crazy because you can literally follow this. And I think there's about a 90% correlation on this. And I mean, this is probably one of the better indicators. So at this point, we see liquidity bottomed somewhere back here. And now the projected move is to the upside. The projected move is to the upside. And we'll just kind of see what happens. So I think we really have bottomed out here. I mean, you see not only is the liquidity moving up, but you also have a lot of support in this area too, as we talked about earlier. So I expect that to keep going up. So yeah, overall, listen, I'll be honest, like it kind of sucks as things go down and, stuff is quiet, but these are the building times. These are the times where you kind of make your stand and, if you accumulate if you have the funds, but we're going to be all right. We're definitely going to be all right. So I'm going to take this off real quick and just do one last thing. Turn these drawings on over time. So again, we talked about this a little bit. I say that I call this the escape velocity line. This big white one. Let's go to the weekly chart. Let's go to the weekly chart. Can I do that? Is that possible? Why are you stopping? Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, it stopped. So I think that's my key to go ahead and end this one. So yeah, again, this has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out a crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com. Check out the Escape Velocity course. I mean, we're doing a lot of big things with Pulse on Crypto and whatnot. So other than that, y'all, I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.